Hi everyone, Suzanne Davis here, author of The Appointed Hour, university professor. Welcome to the YouTube channel, Creative Writer's Life. Today we're talking about how to complicate your character. In a previous video on character, we talked about some of the fundamental aspects of character, but in this video, I want to concentrate specifically on the character who you've already developed, who might feel a little flat on the page. And how can we take that character and make that character more vibrant, more lively, and the story itself then more dynamic? Some of the resources that I'm using will be given to you at the end of this video so that you can take a look at them. But for the purpose of the video, let's talk for a minute about some of the things that make a character very compelling. One, a character has a backstory. The backstory being the thing that brings them to the story that you are writing now. Know the backstory for your characters, particularly your main characters, your protagonist and your antagonist, and maybe there are other characters as well. But their backstories will influence and affect the decisions and the feelings they have about what's happening in the front story. So it's really good to take some time to get to know your character's backstory. Your characters are really interesting, most interesting, when they have flaws, aspects that complicate them because there might be contradictions. You might have a character who's very soft-spoken and yet easy to anger. Or you may have a character who goes out and does all these wonderful things out in the community, but behind the scenes is just a real manipulator. And these things create really interesting questions about who is this person? What will they do? The other aspect that creates a compelling character, a dynamic character, is their enemies, or at least their antagonistic forces. But actually, enemies can be really interesting in a story. And the reason why a character might have enemies is then helps to create that story. So I actually heard a very interesting story just last week about a farm and a character who was driving a manure spreader, and the manure spreader sprang a leak as a neighbor was driving their brand new car by, and the car got splattered with manure, which might seem funny on one hand, but I don't think it was funny to the driver. And you can see how quirky little things can create enemies very quickly. So you probably have your own stories, put them in your fiction. So these things of creating flaws in your character, creating a backstory in your character, creating enemies for your characters, these are some very small and simple steps. And if you have watched till the end of this video, there will be a link attached. The last thing I would say is your character's emotions. Your character's emotions really help complicate your character when you spend time with them, getting to know the depth and breadth of them, and putting that depth and breadth on the page through action, through their dialogue, through their inner feelings. You will have a character who resonates for your reader. All right, I look forward to seeing you in the next week's video. If you've liked this video, feel free to share, like, subscribe. See you next week.